Hey guys, today I'm going to answer a question that I was asked recently that I thought would be a great sort of conversation starter for us here. So I was asked, why does teaching yoga in a one-on-one setting bring up such intense feelings of imposter syndrome for yoga teachers? And this is something I've covered in lots of different ways, so some of this you will have heard from me before probably. But I think that teaching yoga in general places teacher in a position of vulnerability, partly because here we are as the leaders and the space holders of a topic that is inherently shades of gray with no, in my opinion, true hard and fast black and white rules about what is right and what is wrong. So already I think that's a challenging position as teachers to be in. I think that that's increased and more intense in a one-on-one setting. As you might imagine, a one-on-one private yoga setting and situation is quite vulnerable for the student. They have all of your awareness and all of your attention and all of your energy and all of your care. And that can be quite vulnerable for people to receive. And the same is true for you as the private yoga teacher. All of their attention and energy and awareness is on you. So that right away creates a feeling of vulnerability, I think, in both parties, and it can bring up awkwardness. And I think that's all completely normal. The other thing is that when we're teaching private yoga lessons, I really recommend that we don't set up some really strict hierarchical power structure where as a teacher, I am right and I know everything and I have all of this information and I'm going to put it down onto you and I will give it to you if you're a good student. I don't think that that's helpful for the student, and I would actually say the same goes for group classes, that our job as yoga teachers is not to hold on to all this information and give it down to the student if they're lucky, but more to be a witness to their experience, help them process and understand their experience, hold the energetic space and create a container for them to be inside their practice and be inside the questions in a curious, discerning, and tender way. And I think that's challenging. That's a big ask of ourselves, and it's a big ask for me to do of you. But I think that is really our role. If we put ourselves in this really extreme hierarchical power structure, we can take the agency and the sovereignty away from our students. Oh, I know better than you. I know better than your body. This is the right way to do it. It's a safer place to teach from. It's a less vulnerable place to teach from, but I don't think it's ultimately helpful for the student, and it's ultimately also not really true, right? We don't have all the black and white answers. As you know, I think there are no black and white answers anyway. Any answer that we might come up with is a space holder until we find the next right question to ask. And I say all of that, and I do think it's important as a private yoga teacher to really take the seat of teacher. Not in that you're going to be bossy, not in that you know your student's body better or what they might need better, but in that you are there to take care of them and to nurture them and to like I said, to hold space for the questions and to be in charge in a way that's supportive and helpful, not demanding and harsh. So again, that is a lot for a person to do. And then also, so you have all of that going on, and then when you're in this one-on-one situation, it can be really tempting to want to know all the answers. So when your student says, well, why am I having trouble in this pose? Or why does it hurt here? It would feel more comfortable if we just automatically knew the answer. It's likely that we don't, partly because we may not have a huge amount of anatomy and biomechanics training, which will absolutely help you feel more confident in helping your students be in the question. But even if we have a ton of anatomy and biomechanics training, it's likely that we don't know exactly why your student is having that experience, why they're having trouble in that pose or pain here. But the more information that we have, the more study that we've done about the body, the more we will ask good and better questions that help us together through dialogue, through co-creation, come to find a version of that pose or a version of this practice that is of benefit. So, and of course, but if we don't feel comfortable doing that, it's going to bring up a lot of imposter syndrome. I don't know enough. I'm not good enough. I haven't studied enough to be in this position where I'm supposed to know all the answers and hold space for this person's practice. It is a lot to ask. So that's why I think imposter syndrome comes up. It comes up, first of all, for everybody and everything. It comes up, I think, particularly for yoga teachers. And then I think it's really heightened in a private yoga setting. So the two answers are imposter syndrome comes up because we don't know enough to do what we're doing, most likely. And that's okay. The only way you can get better at teaching is by teaching and researching and continuing to study. And it's a vulnerable place to be, and that brings up feelings in people that they're not ready and that they're not good enough. So what I want to offer you here is just I want to open up the conversation to say, this is what it feels like for everybody. It is a vulnerable experience to hold space for someone's yoga practice in a one-on-one setting. And that vulnerability will likely bring up a lot of discomfort in you. That doesn't mean that you're not made to do this work. That doesn't mean that you're not going to do a good job. One really important thing is for you to notice the vulnerability and any discomfort that you feel inside your own heart and meet that with compassion and tenderness. And if you're able to meet yourself inside your own discomfort with tenderness, then you'll really be able to help your student do the same. And just by modeling that tenderness with yourself, it's a beautiful lesson for your student. So if you're feeling imposter syndrome, if you feel like you don't know enough, you're not smart enough, you haven't studied enough, you're not a good yoga teacher, you're not a good enough yoga teacher to teach one-on-one, then let me just pause you right there and say, whatever you're feeling, can you meet what's arising with sweetness and with gentleness? And then make plans, make steps to do more study if that's what you need, or to just keep teaching and keep getting better and looking at your teaching with a critical eye so that it can continue to grow. You're not alone, and feeling vulnerable and feeling uncomfortable is 100% normal. I feel like that still when I go to meet with a new client, and I've been teaching lots and lots of private yoga clients for a long time now. So that's partly just what it feels like. So I want to offer my hand to you in support and say that I'm here for you. You're not alone, and let me know what other thoughts or questions came up and how I can continue to support you. Bye for now.